Hey, this is Elior Sterling, and we're going to start a new Linux command line course. This is going to be based on a class that I used to give in hackerspaces and makerspaces, and I gave a couple times online. But this time I'm going to do the course in 10 to 15 minute chunks, starting from absolute zero. You don't know anything about the command line, and it just looks like a scary black screen to you. And we're going to go all the way into some advanced concepts. So, without further ado, let's just get right into it. So, the first thing is if you have a Linux desktop or you're able to run Linux off of a USB, I'm assuming you've already gotten that far. You've already gotten a terminal window open and you're looking at it and you're ready to go. Whether you're doing this in a virtual machine or running it on bare metal, it doesn't matter. But you've got Linux and you've got your command line open, and now what do you do? All right, so let's start out by looking at what's here in our command line. Now, this part right here can be changed, so yours might look different, but I'm just going to explain to you what is here on mine by default. This is the username of the person who's active right now. That's important because you can change which user you're in by using something called SU, switch user. We'll get to that later, but it can get confusing. I'll show you some tricks later about how I help to keep that straight for myself when I am working as different users on different Linux boxes. And then it says at Dandelion. Dandelion is the name of the box that I'm on. It's the name of the computer that I'm working on right now. And then there's a colon. And then there's this tilde. That tilde is shorthand for my home directory. So whoever you are, your home directory is always tilde. And then the $sign is just basically the command line. You'll see later that thing that's there for the command line will change if you're in as root. Now again, I'm just talking about defaults here. Later, when we get into a more advanced lesson, you'll learn how to change these defaults. So let's start with just figuring out where we are. So let's start with PWD. PWD stands for Path to Working Directory. Remember, I said that tilde means that it's your home directory. Well, your home directory could be in different places depending on how your system is set up, or if the system administrator did something wacko. Usually it's going to be in the same basic place though. And as we hit PWD and then enter, you'll see it's at /home/bleepy. So usually your user directory will be in /home/your username. If yours is different, take note of that. And that's going to help you later to be able to move around your system. Okay, now the next command we're going to learn, which is just going to help us when we're right at the very start and don't know what's happening, is ls. ls stands for list. Maybe it stands for something else, but that's how I remember it. List. It lists what's in your directory. But you'll see I've got nothing in there right now. So I'm going to teach you a little bit of advanced ls now. ls-la will give us a long form and show us all of the directories. So I'm going to hit enter here. And now you'll notice, wait a second. The first time it said there wasn't anything in my directory, and now it shows me that I have all this stuff in my directory. Why does it show me that I have things now, but before it said I didn't have anything? Okay, you notice these dots in front of the names of the files and folders? That dot makes the file a quote-unquote hidden file. It just means that if you just do a plain ls, you're not going to see it. It's because you don't want to clutter up your view with all of these settings files and things like that that you don't need on a regular basis. So without using that A, you're not going to see all those dot files. So let's look at what these dot files are. The first dot right here is this directory. One dot means the directory I'm in right now. Two dots means the directory above me. So that would be /home. Now we've got .bash _ logout. That's a configuration file. We'll learn about that in a later lesson. We've got .bash rc. Again, it's another bash configuration file, which we'll learn about later. .config is a directory. We've got .gtkrc-2.0, GTKRC-xfce, another directory called .local, and then another config file called .profile. So your directory, when you did ls space -la, may have different things here. That's okay. On your own time, you can go explore those, or you can check later lessons to find out what some of those config files are. Some of them we won't be getting into because they're not on every system, but the things that are most commonly going to be on most systems we will go over. So now let's look at what's over here on the left-hand side. We can see that there's a total of 36 files. Wait, this doesn't look like 36 files. Well, there's files inside these directories, so that's how we get up to the 36. And we see that we've got all these letters here. What do all these letters on the left-hand side mean? What the heck is this? All right, so D tells us it's a directory. And then we've got RWX, which stands for read, write, execute. And then R-X, R-X. So that would also be read, write, execute, but the W is missing. So no writing to this, no writing to this. So who's allowed to write and who's not allowed to write? So the first section of read, write, execute is the owner of the file or directory. The next is the group that owns it. And then the last section here is everybody else. So another way to think of this is the user, this is the group, and this is other. So user, group, other. So we can see here that each of these things says it's bleepy, bleepy, and then a number, right? So what does that mean? This means that this is owned by bleepy, bleepy. Bleepy is the username, and we also have a group that has the same name as the user called bleepy. When we look at some other files in other places, we'll find that sometimes the group is different than the user. So it might be owned by bleepy, but in the group CD-ROM, for instance. I know that's a silly one. Who has a CD-ROM anymore? But there could be a file where it says bleepy CD-ROM. And you see that the file above us is owned by root. All right, so let's change directories. Let's go someplace else. So let's go up one. CD space ... That's one directory up above us. Change directory space up one. Hit enter, and now you can see we're in /home. Now, if I type ls here, you can see that there's two directories. There's bleepy and there's sterling. Bleepy is the user that I created for this course, and sterling is, of course, me. Yay! All right, so if I tried to go into Sterling, CD, Sterling, what's going to happen? No permission denied. But if I try to go CD, Bleepy, I get in because I'm allowed to go there. So let's try something. CD space slash. That's going to take us all the way up to the root. Hit enter. Now you can see we're at the root. I'm going to type ls and see all the things that are there. We've got bin and CD-ROM and Etsy and Keybase and lib64. We've got so many different things up at the root, right? Now let's see who owns all of them. ls space dash l. I'm not going to do a because I don't care about my dot files right now. And now we can see root owns all of that. Okay, so let's go back home. I want to go back to my home. So there's a shortcut way to do this. I told you about the tilde, but also from anywhere in the system, you can type CD and then hit enter. Boom. And you go right back to your own home. See that little tilde right there? I can also show you by going PWD. Yep, I'm back home. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to teach you is clear. Clear. This clears our screen. That stuff is still kind of in memory. We can go back and find those things again, but this just helps get rid of a busy screen that we just want to be able to see what, we're doing right this minute. Okay, we're almost done with this lesson, but before we go, I want to teach you two more things, two more commands. The first of those commands is man. So man is the Linux manual. If I want to learn more about ls and all the different things I can do with ls, I type man space ls and then hit enter. And now I get all the information about how to use ls, all the different things that I can do with it, how I can read the files differently. So for instance, one of the ones I really like is -h. If you use -l, like ls space -l, and then you hit an h after that, it'll print sizes of the files that are human readable, which helps it make a lot more sense. Okay, so check that out, look at what other stuff is there, and you can also use man for the other new commands that you learned. So we can use the up and down buttons to move us around in here, and when we're done, we can hit Q to quit. All right, now the other command I'm going to teach you is info. This is the GNU manual. So the GNU manual, sometimes it uses the same manual pages as man, but sometimes it has much more in detail. So you could just type info and hit enter, and it'll give you a whole, what's the word? Table of contents. But you can also write info ls, and it'll take you to the info page for that particular command. And one of the reasons I like info, it tends to be a little bit more user-friendly in terms of the way that it explains things. And I think that starting with info is often really useful. For me personally, just feels more comfortable. And then once I get more comfortable with whatever I'm doing, I'll use man just to find the shorthand quick information. Yeah, so that is the basics for getting started. Gives you some things to play around with and a way to learn some more stuff on your own. Now, just to end, I'll tell you how to get out of your terminal window. EXIT, exit, will get you out of your terminal window. I'm hitting enter and saying goodbye.